I'm looking at it, but I can't believe I'm actually seeing it. Last Guardian, pre-order now, $59.99. Man, I can't even remember when they first shown this. The trailer was it 2008, 2007? Almost like 9 years, and that game better be good. Ugh. Never thought I would see the day. I thought it was vaporware. I thought it was done. Well, I don't know. Well, let's see, right? Well, anyway, what's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Porter Rock 77. Where I go 60 frames, no lag, on the topics we need to talk about. So let's continue on with my E3, post E3s. This time we're going to talk about Sony's E3 conference and do a little commentary, give my opinions out there. A little behind the game, but hey, it is what it is. You're here now. Let's enjoy this together. Please subscribe, like the video, make comments and stuff. Subscribe on my Twitter. All my information is on the About section. I appreciate it. Thank you for the love and support. Thank you for coming on by. And let's get to it. So Sony's press conference starts out with this little orchestra thing, a little orchestra fiasco, whatever, and then they go right into God of War, which was dope. It was dope. It was amazing. It was dope. And I've been saying I gotta see God of War at this E3. If I did not see God of War at this E3, I would have been pissed. You would have probably saw my first angry rant video. But they showed it. It was pretty cool how they introduced it because you saw this kid, whatever, doing his thing. Then his father calls him. Then all of a sudden, Kratos comes out in the shadows and stuff like that. And then everybody's cheering and stuff. So that's pretty cool. The gameplay, gameplay is changing. The camera angles change is the best way. There's no longer kind of like that top-down third person. It's like behind the back, kind of like Ninja Gaiden style, gameplay and stuff. Well, I don't want to say gameplay, but camera view and stuff like that. So they changed it. Probably taking advantage of the hardware that PlayStation 4 provides. They give the perception that the world's a bit more open, bigger, especially towards the last scene when you see that dragon flying thing looking. It would seem like it's based off the Norse mythology, so we'll see how that's tying. A lot of speculations out there saying that's a reboot or that it's not a reboot. It's immediately after God of War 3. The title of the game is just God of War. No dates announced, but we'll see how they look. But it's nice gameplay. Beautiful looking game. Really beautiful looking game. The fighting looks great. It's a little bit more focused. It's not like, when you have the Chaos Blades and everything swinging around and you're killing, dozens of enemies. It's a bit more focused, but just as violent. The attitude's a little bit different though. He's a lot older, maybe wiser, I guess. But he's still rough. Has that really kind of tough father, tough love relationship with his son. So we'll see how that dynamic goes. We'll see if there's a very good personal relationship, kind of like the Last of Us type deal. Where the characters intertwine and stuff like that. So looking forward to that. God of War. They didn't show a release date, but if it's anything, maybe hopefully we'll see it next year. We'll see. All right. Then they go into a quick trailer of a game called Days Gone. If you see my head going there, it's because I'm taking notes. There's a lot to remember, so I apologize for not consistently having direct eye contact. Please forgive me. There's a lot of info. But anyway, they do a quick trailer of a game called Days Gone. Zombie type trailer. So we'll talk more about that at the end because that's where they show gameplay. But it's a new IP, so it looks pretty good. And then they go into that game, The Last Guardian. They didn't do a gameplay trailer like they did with God of War. They just went to a trailer. But probably the biggest thing and probably the most important thing, they went straight to the point. October 25th. It feels like a decade. It feels like October 25th, 2007 is when this thing was first announced or whatever. But anyway, everybody finally got a date. A lot of maybe Xbox fans who are newer to the generation, maybe started on Xbox 360 or stuff like that, probably don't understand why this is such a big deal. It's because of the developer team Ico. They made two really good, unique games. One was called Ico on the PlayStation 2 early in the PlayStation 2. But what really broke this developer out was a game called Shadow of the Colossus. Very unique, very creative. I still say to this day that game was beyond the ambition, was beyond the capabilities of the PS2. That game was amazing, and I think that's what really broke that studio out. It wasn't like a super huge seller like you get with Halos and Call of Duty, but it was just the quality of the game and the unique. It just created a following and a fan base. So a lot of people are expecting The Last Guardian. How do I think? I think this game's going to be critiqued to hell because of how long it took. So we'll see. I hope they deliver, but we finally got a date. Then they went into Horizon. A lot more gameplay, different gameplay as compared to the last gameplay from the last E3. So a lot more shows a little bit more of its RPG elements, especially the conversation. If you notice, it's kind of like similar to what Bioware does with Mass Effect or Dragon Age. So that's pretty good. We'll see how that turns out. They didn't talk much about how decisions come into play or anything like that, but we'll see how it goes. But the gameplay is beautiful. I like how all the weapons are more. It's advanced, but it's not like machine guns and stuff like that. It's still with archery and stuff, so it's a lot of tactics and stuff like that. Great. I like how you could take over the robots and put them on your side. So it looked good. It looked good. Definitely a day one purchase for me. Then they go into Detroit. Now, Detroit is a game made by Quantic Dream. If you remember a game called Indigo Prophecy or Fahrenheit, depending on what region of the world you were in. And then they also made Heavy Rain. You know, Jason. If you play the game, you know what I'm talking about. And then Beyond Two Souls. So they're very into storytelling and not so traditional gameplay mechanics. They're trying to make a movie and be an interactive movie and stuff like that. It's a unique perspective, a unique genre. Not a lot of gamers like that genre because, again, it's not very gameplay heavy like an action game or something like that. But it's entertaining for some of us. So it's a different aspect. It's one of the strong qualities. So what looks good with Detroit is just the amount of outcomes over one scenario. So in the trailer, they show how this scene could play out in so many different ways just by your decision making. So I guess with the power of the PlayStation and with Blu-ray disc and all that stuff and the RAM and everything hardware, it's pretty much like Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls on crack. It's just the amount of decisions you could do and an outcome. So I'm going to look out for that game. I think it's pretty interesting. Going on to the next one, Resident Evil. It looks like it's a reboot of the franchise. Even though it says Resident Evil 7, you could tell by how it started. You're in a creepy house and stuff like that. Very disgusting looking, and it's very like old school horror and stuff. Not the last two Resident Evil was heading towards shooterville. If you and let's be honest, that's how it started becoming a third person shooter. And then Resident Evil 6, that just got ridiculous. You're doing sliding and double shooting. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's not even a horror game anymore. And then you had guys shooting back at you, and like, the franchise needed a reboot. It needed go back to its roots, And this game really looks like it's going back to its roots. So the demo's out. I just downloaded it, so I'm gonna play it. Maybe I might stream. I might get into streaming. Who knows? If you think that's a good idea, let me know. Put it on the comments. But definitely want to play that. All right. Now we're gonna get into the PSVR. I knew Sony was gonna get into PSVR. I just didn't know the games that was gonna actually come out. I honestly thought it was gonna be like, cheap party type games and stuff. I didn't think VR was gonna have some type of games that it did show. I thought it was gonna be some corny stuff actually. But I was impressed with the showing. So one of the shows I was impressed with is Star Wars, the X-Wing game. I was like, oh snap, that's pretty cool. I think it's gonna be hard to see the type of VR experience it will bring, on a stream or whatever. I guess you have to, wear the headset to truly experience it. But the fact that it's bringing out a big franchise like Star Wars, Battlefront, the X-Wing VR missions, I think that's pretty cool. It shows that EA is all about that. I wouldn't doubt if that game was also on Oculus Rift, so it might be on that too. So you could potentially see it on PC and Xbox because Xbox supports Oculus Rift. The next game is supposed to be out. No, it didn't say when it was going to be out. Actually, it might be out this November. Who knows? Next game. Now this one, I'm impressed. It didn't show no gameplay, so you could say it's more like a teaser. But Batman VR game by Rocksteady. I was like, oh, and I'm such a Batman fanboy. I'm like, damn, Daniel. But I noticed it said exclusively VR on PSVR. Something exclusively VR. So is this game a VR game built from the ground up, or is it a game that Rocksteady is making that's VR capable? So exclusively VR could mean that the VR portion It's on the PlayStation 4 and only on the PlayStation 4, but the game is still available on Xbox One and PC and other platforms. So that's pretty interesting because words mean something. We know both companies like to play words. So I'm saying I think Sony is playing words with this game. Exclusively VR on PSVR. You know, it's not exclusive to PSVR. It's exclusively VR. So that means the VR portion is exclusive to the PSVR, but does that mean non-VR? So I think there's a multi-platinum wave. So we'll see. Anyway, we'll see. Then they showed Final Fantasy 15 trailer. Funny because if you see my last video where I talked about Microsoft, please check that out. They had Final Fantasy on stage. So I think this is the first time I've seen the same multi-platform game on two different E3 events. I don't remember any other game doing that. Usually, even though it's multi-plat, it appears on the conference and then that's it. It doesn't appear anywhere else because I guess that's the arrangement. So this is the first time I actually seen Final Fantasy, a multi-plat game on both conferences at the same A3. The only difference between this one is VR enabled, so you saw first-person VR stuff. So, but again, how well you can see how well the VR experience is kind of hard to tell. I'm a little bit parched. Cookout, excuse me. All right. Do you have a cookout where you're at? I don't know. Anyway, so then we're going to talk about the next one. Now, this one was a space game. Now, I'm going to call it the space game initially because that's what it looked like. You saw these little graphics and stuff. Then you go out into space. You started shooting. It wasn't until when the guy popped out the plane I realized, oh, shit, this is Call of Duty. Because you could tell Call of Duty. You know how Call of Duty is. I'm like, holy shit. Because I was really into the space portion of shooting. And then still, I was still into the fighting, you know. The original Infinite Warfare trailers that we first shown didn't look that impressive. In fact, it got like hated. It was like a lot of dislikes. This actually looked pretty good. And I was like, oh man, this is pretty good. And then it's VR enabled too. So even Activision's down with this VR stuff. So surprisingly, VR is getting a lot of support. I was like, okay, you know. Apparently it's $399 for the VR. So I don't know if I'm going to get that. I'm not sure if I'm going to jump on that. Might wait for a price drop. I don't know. We'll see how it is. I'm not so big on that. But for those of you who are, hey, you know, please hit me up on Twitter. Let me know when you experience that. You know, please give me your phone and let me know. All right. Then they go on to introducing that Crash is going to get a full remake from the ground up. Now, this, I could sign on. I'm not a big fan of remakes at all. Not much at all. Unless it's really old classics that were held back from old hardware. You understand what I'm saying? Like a remake of Final Fantasy VII. I'm all about that. You understand what I'm saying? There's going to be a huge difference from PS1 to PS4. I'm all about the Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3 remake. Especially, you know, it started out on PlayStation 1. So remaking it from the ground up on PlayStation 4 is going to look phenomenal. It's going to look amazing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm all about that. I'm all about that remake. Something that's from the classics, from PlayStation 1, Super Nintendo, even though, you know, PlayStation can't do nothing about that. But you take games that are real old from the 16-bit era, you know, from that era, and you put it on the current consoles from the ground up, it could look amazing, you know. So we'll see about that. And then they mentioned a little bit on Skylanders. I'll be honest, I don't really care about Skylanders, so I'm not going to talk much about that. But I will talk about, well, not really. Then they mentioned right after Lego Star Wars. I'm not really into Lego games, but I'm surprisingly a lot of people are. It sells well, so they're doing a Force Awakens for Lego Star Wars. So I guess that's cool if you like that. And then after that, it's supposed to come out 2 weeks, but shortly after that, Andrew House stepped on stage to introduce my man, Hideo Kojima, Metal Gear fanboy here. So he stepped on stage and he introduced a game called Death Stranding. Has that actor from The Walking Dead, so you look familiar. Kind of weird looking game. He's like butt naked, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm seeing this dude's ass. Like, what is this? An ass simulator? Like, what's going on here? Like, what am I watching? I'm watching dead fish and a dude's ass. But anyway, dude's butt naked on the beach. Everyone's dying, and then they have these weird black floating things. So it's gonna be a weird game. Could it be a horror game? Maybe. Maybe that's why Hideo Kojima got him as an actor. Because of Walking Dead, and I don't know. I'm not saying there's a tie into Walking Dead, but I don't know. So we'll see. But hey, I have faith on the man. So day one buy for me. You know what I'm saying? Call me a fanboy. I don't care. But anyway, next thing we'll talk about is Insomniac games. Woo! Ooh, that Spider-Man. Oh, that looked beautiful. I know. Yeah, I'm telling you, if there's any, listen, if there's any haters out there, just don't type on Twitter. Don't embarrass yourself. You know, that game looked amazing. That game looked amazing. Insomniac, oh my god, and I trust that developer. They do good stuff. That's gonna probably be their best new game for this generation. Oh man, the graphics look beautiful. The voice acting looks good. You saw all the action sequences. How Spider-Man just goes in buildings and crashes out the windows, goes in buses and all that stuff. Oh, it looks amazing. Gameplay looks amazing. Even though it's a trailer and there wasn't live gameplay, but if all that stuff is what they're trying to do, oh, that game's gonna be a banger. If you remember, what was it? The Amazing Spider-Man. You know when they started, you know the whole 3D with Spider-Man going through the city. How amazing that was. Oh, I think this game's gonna knock it out the box. Oh, it's amazing. They won't buy from me. Insomniac Games, you don't got an unknown 2-bit developer or just a cash-in movie grab. No, it's a nice, fully fleshed out game. Oh, it's gonna be amazing. Oh, they got a winner with that one. Insomniac's gonna make a killing with that one. Oh, I can't wait to play it. But no date, sadly. So we'll see. Hopefully, it makes it for 2017. It's not a 2018 game. And then finally, we're gonna get into go back to Days Gone where they show gameplay and stuff like that. A little bit of The Last of Us type thing, post world apocalyptic, lots of zombies, and that's I think the big thing. Lots of zombies, like World War Z, the movie, not the book, the movie zombies. It was ridiculous. It was a crap load, a shit ton of zombies everywhere. I'm like, man, this thing is a lot of zombies. Obviously they probably had it in easy mode because it didn't look aggressive enough for the amount of zombies. I think they were just trying to show the point and the amount of bullets that guy was shooting. He was shooting his AK for days, so I think we were just trying to show how many zombies in there and stuff like that. So it was pretty big and stuff like that. Would like to see more game of it. Maybe it's an emotional ride because when the first trailer in the earlier part of E3, they were talking about how he missed his girl and he missed the old days. So they might have like a tie-in to an emotional aspect, a good story. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe there's multiplayer in there, maybe not. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, and then finally it finishes off with a sizzle video of a whole bunch of stuff. So overall, what do I think of this conference? It was amazing. It was an amazing conference. What I like about the conference, if you think about it, it went straight. It was games. It was just games. It was just games. A little bit of talking, some notes, a little bit of conversation, and just more games. It was amazing. A lot of it was exclusives. They showed, in my opinion, even though again I'm not big on the VR, but they showed the right games for the VR. If you saw the December PlayStation experience with VR, that thing was terrible. The only thing I enjoyed out of the whole show was just the introduction of Neo. But as far as VR, it wasn't a good showing. This E3 was a good showing. They actually showed industry support to that game. Because of the amount of industry support to that game, I feel that the PlayStation Neo, Project Neo, is not coming out. And I'll talk more about that in another video. And I'll explain why more in another video. That's a different conversation. But overall, amazing. I was so happy about that. E3, great presentation. Lots of games, lots of projects, a few surprises. Got some dates, many of them this year, which I was surprised. Last Guardian's coming out this year, October. I didn't think it was going to do it. I would have thought they delayed it and stuff like that. But it's coming out this year in October. Surprisingly, no Gran Turismo on that show. I'm surprised about that. Considering it comes out supposedly in November, maybe they delayed it to Gamescom, and Gamescoms it's in Europe, and the primary audience for Gran Turismo is Europe, so I could imagine they probably hold off to Europe. It makes sense. If it's not ready, suppose only 50% ready a couple of weeks ago, so if they need more time to get it right, to get the good presentation out there, I guess that's probably what they're doing. And again, no Neo announcement stuff. That was already talked about. But anyway, great showing. So I'm going to give my opinions not now, but I'll make a video on who I think had the better conference. But before that, I got to go catch up on Nintendo and see how they do their stuff. So I got to catch up on everything's Nintendo and stuff. And then I'll make a video on that. And then I'll announce I'll just give my opinions on what I think about all three in just one video. Okay. So anyway, so like, subscribe, please comment because I do reply to all my guests, to everybody who visits. So you know what I'm saying. So I'll try to be a part of that, or just hit me up on Twitter and we could talk about this. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you continue to come back. All right. So I'll see you next time, and you take care and keep it gaming. All right. Keep it gaming.